Hi folks, welcome. Hopefully today I can help you out with creating liveries using Blender for ACC. I'm no expert, but I've just been messing around with it enough that I've got it to the point where I can use it for what I want. So I'll share it with you and hopefully that helps. So let's get going. First things first, whenever you're doing any liveries in ACC, you gotta switch off the DDS creation because it just makes it so much quicker not having to constantly delete the DDS files out from where you've got the livery saved. So to do that, you need to go into Documents, ACC, Config, then get down into here, which is Menu Settings. Scroll all the way down to the bottom, come up just a little bit, and then where it says Text DDS, make sure that is set to 0. It's usually set to 1, but yeah, set that to 0, then those DDS files will get created and then you can see your changes straight away. Just remember that you do need to do that before you actually start running ACC. If ACC is running in the background and you change it, it won't take effect. So anyway, so in ACC itself, you can see I've just got a custom livery which is just plain blue. Just added that. Once you've done that, once you then go into ACC customs and you just want to go to ACC customs and cars first, that's where you'll see something that looks like this. Then you can go ahead and rename it. So I renamed it AMR example. And then I use that same wording for the custom skin name. And then to get that to actually then populate into liveries, you usually need to like go to a different card and come back to it again, and then it'll populate it so you don't have to actually create the folder yourself. Then once that's open, you can see the decal and sponsors JSON files, which is where you can go in and edit the finish of the paints. So that's that. So at this point, everything's set up in ACC that you need for the custom livery, and so let's get into Blender. So we'll go ahead and start that up. So once you've opened it, hit General, and then I usually select A to select everything, and then hit delete, and then that way you start them with a nice clean canvas. To open up the 3D model, go File, Import, Wavefront. I've got mine just saved in downloads right now. I'll try and find you the link. I actually re-downloaded the link yesterday, so they are still there. Open up the Vantage GT3, and when you zoom out it should be there, and there it is. To make this look a little smoother, go ahead and select it with the left mouse button, then click right to bring up this drop down, and then hit Shade Smooth, and there you go. Just looks a little better for working on the actual model itself. So to pivot around the model, it's the middle mouse button, and then just move the mouse. If you actually want to move the model up or down, left or right, hit Shift and then the middle mouse button, and then there you go. Two ways to zoom in. If you hit Control and the middle mouse button and then move the mouse, this is kind of a little more exact on where you're actually zooming in and out to. You can use the mouse, but it moves in jumps like this, so just so you're aware. And then up here you have the axes, so hit X and it puts you to the side, hit it again to the other side. Z puts you up top and at the bottom, and then Y puts you front and back. It's just useful, always being able to return to the exact same plane for doing something, so it's worthwhile showing you that. Okay, so everything that I do in Blender, the way I use it for creating these liveries, I just do it in texture paint. So go ahead and click on that once you do that, it's going to divide the page into two, and it's just going to, because you've got no textures over here, this is just going to be purple or pink, I guess pink. In the top left hand corner of each of these panes, I guess you could call them, that's where you can select what you're seeing. So right now this is the 3D viewpoint, we'll leave it like that, and then this one here is the image editor, and we'll leave it like that. I want to add one more pane in there, so as you come down you'll see the cursor actually change as you get to the corner. Click and pull up, and this is where we're going to do the shader editor, and this is so basically you can layer everything on top of each other. So I'm going to go ahead and actually make this just a little bit bigger for what we're doing right now, so you can see it on screen a little bit easier. We don't need to see the car at the moment anyway. So up here you need to be in this tab, which is the active tools, where it says no textures. Hit a plus, and we're going to do base color. For the hell of it, we're just going to do base, and then we'll do 4096, 4096, which is the same size as the like the wireframes you would usually use, which you can download almost anywhere at this point, for doing like the 2D livery design. For this one, just so it kind of looks like what we've got in ACC, I'm just going to do like a similar-ish blue and hit OK. And you can see that it's actually populated it right here as well. I'm actually just going to disconnect it though, because we need to change all this. So we'll add another one. Base color again, label this decals. 4096. The only difference here is you want to go and remove the alpha. Hit OK. We'll do another one. And you guessed it, it's sponsors. 4096 is good again, and then same thing, remove the alpha and hit OK. And all the three of these now populated in here. Let's get rid of that and get rid of that. And to move around in here, it's middle mouse button again, and you can move this through, and I'm going to zoom in a little bit as well, so hopefully you can all see what's going on here. Okay, so to join this up, we're going to search for mix, and the first one is mix RGB. So we'll pop that like that, and we actually need two of those, so right click and hit duplicate. We're good to go there. So base is going to be color 1, decals is going to be color 2, and the alpha up to FAC. Then here, so from this mix is going to be color 1, and then sponsors will be color 2, and then alpha up to here. And you can mess with these to make them a little bit neater. It doesn't really matter, but while you're doing it, why not? And then you just need to connect this up to the base color, and that is all you need for what we're doing. Yeah, just don't need to do any more than that. So I'm going to pull this down. I'm actually going to minimize it out. Okay. Now in here is, as we talked about, the image editor, which is basically just showing you what you have selected, and it gives it a wireframe of it. So right now you can't see this because we've actually got sponsors selected, which has the alpha removed, so that's why you can't see either of those, but you can see the base. Now to actually put all of those together, you select up here this one, and it's basically laid all three images together. So now if I have base selected, you can see that the whole thing is blue over in the image editor. So if I select green and I have the brush selected, you can write on the base and you can see it's right there, and it says base up here too. If I put decals and I have a bright red, it says decals up here, and when I draw over it, it goes over the top, and you see it here also. And let's say I do a yellow, I go to sponsors. In theory this should go over both of them, which it does, and you see it selected over here in sponsors. And that basically is the setup of what we need to do. At any point, if you want to undo, it's Control Z. So I'll hit that a couple times. And if you want to redo anything, it's Control Shift Z. Anyway. Right, so next thing is I want to show you how you actually then save these images over to ACC so you can see them. So let's go ahead and we'll work in decals. Like base really you'll never work in, that's just to sit on the back so you can see roughly what your design looks like. So go into decals, we have the brush selected. Let's go ahead and get it on the X axis right there, and I'm just gonna brush that in. Now let's say you're designing and you want it to look the same on both sides at the same time. Let me get rid of that. If you push X up here, that's basically a symmetry tool, so as I do this and I go to the other side now, you'll see it's written the same. And same here, if I go to the top, if I do a little line there, it does the same there, and it does the same there. So it's just, it makes life really easy because you don't need to kind of match it on the other side, it does it for you. So anyway, so let's get to actually putting this image on the car. So go up to image here, and we're going to do save, and then you just got to find the folder. So it's customs, liveries, and then it's the AMR example. Because we got it saved decals here, you can go ahead, save that image, and then when you go in here and you click here, that's it, popped it straight on there. Just as easy as that. And I already have this open, so this is our AMR example folder, and you can see it saved it right there. Okay, so let's go back and let's get rid of that. With the brush, basically, and also with the fill as well, they both work in the same way. Mix will add the paint, and then Erase Alpha will take it away. So you can just go ahead and get rid of it here. Now you can see that it's kind of left it in the lines here just because of different angles we're at, so it's actually much easier to erase it off of here. To do that though, you need to make sure you're not in view, you're actually in paint, and then you can go ahead and start to take it off. To resize the brush to make this quicker, hit F and just move the mouse, and once you're happy, click, and you're good to go. Now let's go ahead and do something in sponsors, and the reason for that is, as you know, may not know, whenever you do something in sponsors, it takes away the in-game sponsors, so like Pirelli and all these other things in the back, and it takes off the rear wing as well. So I'm going to show you like a little workaround for that. So in decals first though, I'm just going to go ahead and save that image. Now we've cleaned it up, and then just to show you that it'll disappear, so there you are, back to normal again. Back to Blender, go into sponsors, make sure we hit mix, otherwise we won't get any paint. I'm just going to shrink that back down. We have the symmetry tool on still, so we'll go ahead and just do something silly like this, and then we'll go to image, save, sponsors, it's going to pop itself in there, and then you'll see now that it'll add what we just created, but it takes all those other sponsors away, which obviously isn't ideal because most of the time you 100% need the Pirelli stickers for most. But I don't think I've seen a community out there that doesn't have to have that. So what you can do is get the regular 2D template, which you've probably mostly used at this point. And once you've got that open, just have the sponsors that you want back on there. So if you just wanted the Pirelli, you could delete all this other stuff off. But anyway, I'm just going to put it all back on. Then open up as a layer the what we've just created. So that's sponsored, you can see it right there. So we'll go ahead and open that. And it's opened up underneath, which is how we want it. And now we'll file export that back to in the AMR example folder, sponsors, export, we'll replace it. And now in ACC, there we go. So we've got all that back on there now. So good to go from that point of view. The only thing that we're kind of messed up with now is that even though it looks good in ACC and we've got our little terrible logo design going around the headlights here, once you go back to Blender, obviously we don't have the logos on here, the Pirelli and the Assetto Corsa that we just added back. So to fix that, you go back down to our image editor and we'll zoom back in, go to sponsors, and then this file right here, you can open the image back up. So select it, what we just created again in the AMR example, open that image, and now you can see it has popped it on. So now moving forward, you're all good to go. Okay, so next thing to talk about is the fall off. The button all the way to the right here, that will give you the sharpest edge, or the least feathered edge, I guess. This one, you know, it's pretty obvious. It's just a matter of just clicking away, and then you'll find different uses for each of them, but I just wanted to point that out. So Control Z to get rid of all those. Next we'll talk about the color palette. So go ahead and click on that, and then hit the plus again will actually give you the color that you've got active. So I'll hit it again, and then obviously it's pretty simple here, but it's just nice to have it where you've always got them. On that note, anytime you add an image, if you wanted to, so let's say we want to do this, the red specific on the SRO here. I'm going to zoom in down here. So I'm going to just give you for a little example. When you click on the color either here or here or here, it gives you this little icon, and that's your color picker. So you can pick from here, but you shouldn't, because it'll never give you the exact right color, because it's lighting in the 3D viewpoint which changes the color. So whenever you do the color picker, always make sure you do it from the image editor over on the left here, and it gives you a more accurate color. So anyway, so that's that. The fill tool, literally anything that is active on the screen when you have the fill tool on will get painted, and it just paints the whole thing. So that leads us nicely, Control Z, that leads us nicely in needing to select certain panels. So to go ahead and do that, you can do it a couple different ways, but where it says texture paint up here, you can go to edit mode, but it's much easier just to hit tab, and that way it basically shows you everything that's selected. So when it's all orange like that, that means everything's selected. I usually just left click away from the screen, so nothing's selected, and then you can also see here in the image editor that nothing's selected. If I hit A, all of it is. If I click away from it, nothing is. To select individual panels, just put the cursor wherever you want, just hover over the top and then push L. When it does that, it selects what's connected to that as well. So down here where it says select linked, click on that, And if once I hit UVs, you'll see it'll deselect some stuff. UVs is just a little more specific in what it's selecting, and normal will add a few other, connected things to it. So I always use UVs because then you can be more specific on what you're actually connecting. Once you've selected what you wanted, hit tab, and very important here, you need to make sure you come up to this little cube and click on that. Once you do that, now you can see what panels are connected, what panels are selected and active, and what isn't. And then that way, if I go to draw on it, I can only draw on that panel and nothing else. If I select A now, you'll see everything active. But yeah, so just to point that out. So let's Control Z to bring that back as it was. Go back to tab, click away, and let's say I wanted a completely different color roof to everywhere else. You just select it, then you can go to fill, and then let's say I wanted this bright green. You go ahead and select that, and then it only colors that part in using the fill tool. It's just quicker and easier. On that as well, I'm just going to zoom in here to show you. Sometimes it's useful, depending on the wireframe and the model, and not all of them are perfect, but right here it's covering it all the way. If you go down here to options, you can change the bleed. So you can see right now it's 2 pixel bleed, so it's just going over the edge to make sure there's proper coverage. If I do all this up to 8 and then click it, you'll see it's put a bit more over the top. So sometimes if you're not getting the coverage all you need, it's advisable just to up this a little bit. I'm usually around 4 is where I set it, because I don't like them to link together, and obviously you get these little artifacts when doing it, but it is what it is. It doesn't affect the overall image in the end. So next I want to show you how to import some textures. So when I say that basically means, like, if let's say you wanted to put like your racing team decal all the way over the top of it, wherever, you're going to need to import that. So just for now I'm going to hit A, and beautiful looking car we have right now, I know. To import those specific stickers, decals, whatever you want to call them, go to the checkerboard, hit new, and then open. I have a bunch here, my logos, so I'm just going to import Assetto Corsa. Open. Now the thing is to remember, you must be in the brush for this to work. If you're in the fill, it doesn't work like what we want it to. So make sure you're in the brush, come back up here to your active tools, select which layer you want to stick the decal on. Most of the time it's going to be on sponsors because you want that to sit above everything else. And then down here you'll need to open texture, and then by clicking on here you'll see what you've already imported. So go ahead and click on that. Make sure this is on stencil, and then click these two just to make sure the image is kind of reset to how you want it to be. So I'm going to square this up. To move this around, it's the right mouse button, put it wherever you like, and then to resize it, it's shift and the right mouse, and to rotate it's control and the right mouse. The big advantage to all of this obviously is that now if you want, you can have it go over a couple different panels, and you don't have to spend ages trying to link all that up like you would if you were over here like in the regular 2D image. So to make this work, make sure you obviously got it set to mix, you're on the brush, and also importantly you need to make sure that you are on the color pure white. Otherwise, whatever colour you have on will tint it. So I'm actually going to add that into our colour palette there. So now when I add this, I'm just literally just painting it in. Honestly, what I usually do for this is I go to this one because it's just a little bit quicker and easier. And there we go. Over 2 panels perfectly. It's so simple. It just really does make life easy. Now, because we had the symmetry on, you'll see that it's put it on this side, but it's back to front. But it's still useful because at least now we know the exact location it is on the other side. So we'll go ahead and move it over here. We'll rotate it until we're happy with the angle. So probably about that is good. Then we can kind of get it to the position that we want. So I'd say somewhere there is good. Now what we have to do is just get rid of the stencil for a second. So go ahead and exit out. So as I said, if you want to get it back, you come straight back and it remembers the position. So exit out. We then have to undo the symmetry, because when we go and erase it, we don't want to erase it off on both sides, just off the one side. Then to repaste it, you need to do mix again, open up the stencil, and bang. Good to go. Hit that, and there we have it. Simple, simple. And then again, image, save. It'll put it straight up on there. This isn't going to look great, but you're getting the idea of what I'm trying to do here. And I wasn't even paying attention to where the numbers are on the Aston, so yeah, but there we go. I'm going to show you what it's like to do something super quick and easy. So let me go here. It's actually on the desktop, sorry. So just a simple graphic like this. You can shrink this back down, put that back to mix, back up to our active tools, re-click these to kind of get it accented, and we're going to size it up a little bit. So I want it to be a little bit longer left to right, so I'm just going to double click it. I can see what that's like, and that kind of fits over the whole image pretty decently. There we go. So we've got the image over the top. We'll go ahead and paste that on. Okay, so that's all pasted on. And then we'll just want to show you that if you don't have it white, what happens. So we'll kind of just do something silly like this. We'll go to the yellow, put that down like that, and then let's do something up on top. So let's do something like, let's select the hood and the roof, and let's do something a little silly, and I don't know, let's do it in a pinky color, and we'll go ahead and so actually this is a good example here when you don't want the symmetry on, because you kind of might want to do something a little bit more asymmetric. So I'll Control Z that, take that off, and this way we'll just paint it on. Have a little bit of something different going on here. So looks very 80s, I know, but anyway, this is just kind of just give you an idea of how easy and quick it is to do some stuff. Obviously it's down to you to actually make it look good instead of this mess that I'm creating, but let's see what we got here. And the reason why it's got that is because I didn't save the sponsors. So go ahead, go back to sponsors, and we'll say save, and there you go. So you kind of get the gist how easy it is just to kind of whack something on there, define the panels you want to use and everything else. Let's say you wanted to split the model up for whatever reason. That's relatively simple as well. So let's say the wing is in the way for drawing something here. So you go ahead, make sure you select the wing, L, and then if you right click on it, you can go to separate selection, and it separates it up here, and you can check which one it is, so it's right there. So what I usually do is put that as wing, and now when I hit tab, you kind of have to select which one up here you want to work on. So while I've got wing selected, I'll hit Control A. Let me hit Control A in there. Well, no, just A, sorry. When I got wing selected, I can now paint on that, but not in here. If I've got this painted, I can paint on that, but not on the wing. On the ends in this piece, because I didn't select that, but the actual wing itself I can't paint on. And yeah, then you can just move whichever one out of the way so you can see what's going on. So, and then to join them together is a little bit more complicated. You need to go up to object mode, and then you can select, hold shift and select the other one, then right click and put join, and then you can see up here they're back together again. Last things to show you. A lot of people, when they're designing, they'll create these like spheres or curves as a PNG, and then they'll import them as a texture and then stencil them, and that's how they create all the different lines, and you've probably seen that. The other way of doing it instead is you use, let's get back into texture paint here, you can change the stroke and use either a line, which is then always just a straight line, or you can go ahead and you can do a curve. By the way, drawing the line is just literally left click and pull. Curve, where are we? Line, curve is a little bit more complicated. You have to hit Control right mouse button, and if you just click it once, it does perfect straight lines. So let me get rid of those quick. If you let me get back into texture paint. If you do Control right and pull, then it kind of then you can curve it, and you've probably all used these before. If you want to go back in and edit these, you hit shift instead, and that way you can select the whole thing. And if you don't hit shift, then you can just select either one, and then just right click to move around. So that's just a bit of playing with, but it can be super useful. And then when you actually want to paint it, let me select a different color. So let me go down here. We'll do blue on top of the yellow on top of here. Make sure you select the thickness, so you can either do that up here or you can do the F thing. So let's make it that big, and then I hit that, and there you go. So again, just different ways of doing things, but just wanted to point everything out to you. I think at this point that's everything. We've ended up with like a monstrosity here. Oh, actually, a couple more things. I'll include backface culling. So let me go back to space so I can write again. Backface culling basically means, see, I can't draw on that right now. If I take this off, then I can. front and the back face. Got that on. I can't draw now. So yeah, that's back face culling. So let me turn that back on so you can do that. But obviously, so right here there's no yellow. So if I line that up and I paint here, nothing's getting through. If I take off occlude and paint again, you'll see how it does come through. So let me do that again. So I'll change color just so you can see, and it hits the red. So even from all the way at the back, if I draw something here like big line, you'll see that same line come through here. Let's do a green. So that goes all the way through the car. So anyway, just to point all that out. Yeah, so let's just see how terrible this looks on the car right now. Save, and then we'll save decals as well. And that's what we've ended up with. But yeah, you can see how easy it is to start messing around with all this stuff. So hopefully this has been enough to get people up and running and able to enjoy it. Like it's so cool once you start messing with it, what you can do. So anyway, you've heard enough of my voice by now, I'm sure. So I hope this helps, and yep, okay, bye.